This is IsAware, powered by Intersoft Associates. IsAware is your connection to exploring the systems and software that power businesses like yours with expert insight, experience, and advice.
Welcome back to IsAware. I am Chris Ventliff, and I'm joined by Hai Goldstoff and Abe Unger at Intersoft Associates. And guys, we've been talking a lot about making sure that we have the right people on our team, making sure that we're asking the right strategic questions, making sure, as high as you like to say, that 1 + 1 = 3, meaning we put the right minds in the room and we put the right experiences on the table so that we're creating the best thing. But I'm wondering, once we get to that point, what are some steps that I, as a business leader, can be taking so that I'm not having to revisit this in a large scale, sort of big scope kind of way? 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Is it about programming languages? Is it about platforms and making sure that I'm not becoming outdated? Is it about my team and the people around me and making sure their skill sets stay up to snuff? Abe, let me start there. What do you think are some things, some sort of tactical, practical ways that I can feel confident that what I'm doing now is going to kind of be future-proof, or at least pave the way for smoother sailing down the road?
So sure, the answer to your question before, by the way, was yes to all. And the concept is
either yes to all or call us. Those are usually the two.
Well, you do it very well, so yes. But you're building a foundation. Technology is never going to last forever. That's the way technology works. It's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. And there are new things that didn't exist years ago that you can potentially use to take advantage of. Data analytics, things.
Let me interrupt. As an example, one of my colleagues looked at one of the recent posts that we had, and he emails me back, "Great, what's a fax?" So, anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Abe.
So yes, as that goes, the technology is a constantly evolving thing, and it's going to change. And in terms of business, hardware is going to become outdated. New things are going to be out there. So you definitely need to have a feel or your finger on that pulse to understand what is happening, what's going on. And not necessarily you yourself as the business owner, you're not going to be the one who's going to be keeping up on latest trends and technologies necessarily to know what all those details are. That's where you need that team. You need those people behind you who understand what's out there. But if you've built a foundation that's stable, that's going to follow through with whatever technologies you ultimately have to use. So yes, you may have to tweak something in a number of years. New components come out, and the components you're using may not work in newer browsers, let's say. But if the foundation is sound, then that's simply a translation, a little bit of a change. And that's the way, software evolves, and that's what's going to happen. But it's really understanding. And the other thing is, as we said before, is are you meeting your needs? Are there areas in the business that are not being, the software is not helping you with, or it's not giving you enough information, or it's not giving you certainly correct information? But even if it is correct, but it doesn't help you in making future decisions, that's where, as a business owner, you're looking at things saying, something is missing here, something is off. Where is that problem? And then you can go back and look at that. And that may be either some data that's missing or not there or not being processed, or yes, maybe a new technology, some artificial intelligence that might help you in making some of those decisions by analyzing data differently or looking at things in a different way or different perspective that you haven't taken into account yet.
One of the things that we do is software evolves. What the various vendors, what they provide evolves. And sometimes, they're sunsetted. Microsoft made a big play on some technology called Silverlight, and this is a number of years ago, and they really, promoted it, and it was, good for what it did. But then all of a sudden, it was no longer. They were going to stop supporting it. It didn't do what it expected it to do, so they stopped supporting it. Oddly enough, we had a client who had just had some software developed by a fairly reputable software firm. They were never told that, and Microsoft already announced that that's dead man walking. So they were never told. And the problem was that they were going to go out and use the software on iPads. A, it's not supported on an iPad, and B, so that's just a matter of asking. And interestingly enough, we didn't get the business originally, and I offered, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, no charge. They never offered that. And when they came back to us, their jaws are open. But and they were a startup. They were trying to get funding, which they got. Anyway, ultimately, it's also staying away from the new girl in town. There are all of these platforms, not platforms, but I'll call it platforms. Abe can give me the right word to do software, rapid software development, do things quicker, things like React or whatever it might be, and these things come and go and they're updated. We try and stay away from those wherever we can, and we've built our own software stack. It's not a React, and again, I don't recall the others. We built our own software stack so that we can control what happens using the base Java and JavaScript elements, using the base elements. And if I'm speaking incorrectly technically, that's why Abe's here, among other reasons. So we try to avoid those. Now that's from years and years of experience, knowing that things that go in and out and that is not within our control. We do use tools, but those tools, we can easily replace those tools with another one, which allows us to do certain things from a visual point of view. And this vendor, they sell these, they have to keep it up to date and sell subscriptions. And we've been using them probably for 15 years, maybe longer, which is longer than Silverlight's time on this world. Mm. So it's knowing what to avoid, the new, pretty co-ed or the new high school quarterback, and deal with what's stable and will continue to work.
It's a really good illustration. I can remember Silverlight was a sort of competitor to Flash, which was Macromedia and then Adobe. And there was a time in the heady early 2000s when everybody's website was built with Flash, and then they were building some really sophisticated, even e-commerce. YouTube was mostly driven by the Flash video codec. And when iPhone came out, that all started to crumble very quickly. Part of what I'm hearing you say, both of you, is that if all this technology can change, but the constant has to be almost a culture of, is it curiosity? Is it a culture of investigation? Because as you've said, I'm not a technologist. I'm a business leader. I'm a CEO. I'm an executive, whatever. But I got to have the right people on my team who aren't just chasing flashy, shiny objects, but who are asking the long-term questions or positioning me for the long-term success. How do I develop or build those relationships high?
One thing is being intellectually curious. If that's one of the criteria for hiring people that are intellectually curious and are always want to learn, and keeping up on what's going on, speaking to colleagues. If we're going to develop software, we've got to understand processes. We've got to understand the technology, and it's speaking to those people. Software is going to change, and being prepared when that change does come. Microsoft recently announced a change to their .NET environment, and now they used to be .NET framework up to 4.7 or 4.8 right now. Yeah. Now they have .NET Core. So there are changes, and we always look at what's the ideal way to incorporate that when we have to. Is there a hybrid way to do it? And that just requires the intellectual curiosity and understanding what's out there and how we can help our clients, and certainly our future clients, cross that divide easily and minimizing risk.
And Abe, I think
latest is not necessarily greatest.
What's that?
The latest is not necessarily greatest, but that doesn't mean you disregard. There's that concept of like .NET Core. When .NET Core came out, we looked at it. Was that going to work for our clients? How is that going to work? It's not ready yet. Let's wait a little while. Let's see what it's doing. Do some proof of concepting internally so that when the time comes, I can go to our clients and say, this is new technology. This is going to require some changes. These are pieces of software that are going to be affected. This is how it's going to affect what has to be done in the future. And there's sort of a roadmap. How are we going to get from point A to point B with the least amount of disruption? And that's really what we're doing by understanding what's out there. So it's that curiosity, knowing what's available out there and understanding how to use that. And like I said, there's new JavaScript languages, there's new frameworks, everything coming out all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean you should go with it, but you should at least be aware of it. And that's where that technology department has to really understand or be curious to understand what's going on in the world to know how that's going to affect you.
You know, I'll paraphrase a Winston Churchill comment. You know, beauty or handsomeness is fleeting, smart is forever. It may be good now, but it may not, but it more than likely won't be good down the road. Working smart will always help you properly, knowing when to use something that's brand new and when not.
I feel like a lot of this gets back to some of that conversation we've had about strategic thinking. If I'm just a developer, just a programmer, just a technology kind of centered person, then I'm a hammer and everything is a nail. And part of what I hear you guys saying, Abe, is you have to ask a lot of questions and have kind of a roadmap, a strategic roadmap of solving and answering business demands and challenges, and then working backwards from there for the technology. And if you can do that, maybe that's the constant, then the technology almost inevitably fills in where it should, not instead of working the other way around. Is that accurate?
Correct. And that's where we pride ourselves. It's not just zeros and ones. It's not. There's a lot more to it. Yes, someone's got to write that code. Someone's got to put that onto a piece of paper or code and do that. But that's not what it's all about. It requires a lot more behind the scenes.
And certainly, if you've got if you've got a small team, especially, your range of experience is limited, and it really by tunnel vision, because you're not looking at everything. You don't have you've got one client, which is the company you work for, with one problem, with one set of technology, and you may know that, but you're not familiar with everything else that's going on. A larger organization where people are collaborating all the time, and people are working in different technologies or different flavors of the same technologies, they're all learning, and then again becomes 1 + 1 = 3 plus another 1 = 4.5 or whatever it might be. You're able to collaborate internally and come up with the best solutions, and we increase our own internal intellectual capital that we can then use to support people who call us, people who need our help.
I feel like that's it kind of brings to mind the idea of an ancillary, a complementary skill set. So we can engage, Intersoft associates alongside our core development team, our internal team, and we can leverage the best of all those things. Maybe you've got a really, young and hungry programmer developer in there, and your seasoned expertise can kind of come in, mix that up, and the outcome can be greater than the sum of the parts. Is that true, Hai? Is that a way that we like to work?
Absolutely. It's the way that we can work and have worked. And what it does also, it maintains continuity. If you've got 1 or 2 programmers and somebody leaves, you don't have the proper documentation, and you're really left in the lurch and until you correct the problem, hire somebody, bring them up to speed. Coming with any organization, certainly one like ours, the continuity and the proper documentation is real important. And if someone critical to the technology stack in your organization leaves, it may be a bump in the road, but those only last for a little bit, and then everything else will be running as smoothly as a 12-cylinder engine. So that's really important. And we take the processes we've learned and implemented in the Fortune 500 companies, using the better part of Sarbanes-Oxley and other frameworks to make sure that everything is put together properly. The proper way to release software. Someone coming, we don't need no stinking quality assurance. Let's just release it and see what happens. We don't do that, and it's worked over the last 30 some odd years.
Talk about future-proof, Abe. I mean, having a through point so that because I think that's a great call out from High, which is sometimes what's getting in your way, what's sort of limiting your ability is that the key gatekeeper left. The person who knew all the things is gone. And now you're going to end up with legacy or deprecated or something just because you don't have whatever. And when you've got a team that can sort of ride those waves, you've solved that problem.
Even something as silly but real important, key passwords.
Yeah.
That person's got them all, and you've got to scramble to try and get them and know where they are. And we've seen issues. It happened to Microsoft. I think it happened to Microsoft. One of their sites expired, and they had to go re-register it. For Microsoft, they'll do that. For ABC contracting, not so much. So, the little things like that, to know where that happens and create a sustainable process where if somebody leaves, we'll still get the emails when the registration of that site is about to expire.
Guys, great conversation. I think it's, I really like this thinking of kind of the common thread, the common denominator, and Intersoft Associates is a great place for that to be. But more this idea of future-proofing your technology by not just thinking about the technology, but the strategies, the business case, and the people involved to keep that future-proof, as we like to say, which is tough to do in such a dynamic environment as technology, which 2 days ago was outdated. So. Great conversation. Thanks so much, guys. Looking forward to our next time.
Thanks for joining us for IsAware, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. IsAware is powered by Intersoft Associates, who believes the more you know about your IT, the better. Visit us at intersoftassociates.com and schedule your free consultation to talk about how custom software can help your business.